Good morning, church. I love it. What a joy it is to be together again. Know that wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. As we enter into this sacred time, let us center our hearts on this month's theme. It's a new month, right? Of nurturing gratitude. As individuals, we experience various degrees of privilege in our lives, and exploring gratitude invites us to consider our place in the flow of love's resources, what we cherish, what we question, and what we share with others. Our hymn of the month, We Gather Together, affirms our faith in the power of gathering in beloved community and our response to love's call. In our hymn, listen for the hope in its last line, that we are free only when we are bound to the care and freedom of others. Let us rise in body or spirit together to share our opening song. We welcome you, who you are and whomever you love and whatever brings you here. I'm Reverend Brett, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. Our worship team this morning includes Lindsay, our Director of Religious Education, Tim, our Music Director, our choir, Reverend Joyce, who is with our youth this morning, and Linda as worship associate. Autumn, our office manager, is manning the tech deck. I'm also happy to introduce to you our guest minister for this morning, the Reverend Scott Aaseng. Reverend Scott serves as executive co-director of the Unitarian Universalist Advocacy Network of Illinois, at least until the end of the year when he is headed for retirement after many years of service. Yeah. UUANI, our statewide UU justice network that relationally builds and strategically exercises power grounded in our UU values. It exists in solidarity with those most impacted by injustice in order to create a more just world. If you are in person, that's you all. Please join us for coffee hour across the narthex. I called it a lobby a few weeks ago. I know, right? Across the narthex for coffee hour in Deal Hall. And if you are online, everyone wave to the folks online. They're right there. Please do like or share, do all that online stuff. But know that no matter if you're in person or online, that you are welcome here, and we are thrilled. Let us know either way who you are so we can be in touch.
Good morning. I'm Linda Kimmel. We gather today on the ancestral land of the Ho-Chunk and Potawatomi peoples, and we are humbled to be on this sacred ground. This land, this nation, our faith, and our lives are shaped by a complex history of oppression, freedom, resistance, migration, conflict, justice, and hope. From these legacies, we learn to grow, reflect, seek healing, give thanks, and strive to build a better world for those who will inherit our choices. We gather today in worship, and as we gather, we join in our sacred ritual. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our faith, a beacon of truth, a fire for justice, and the warmth for the soul. Luke will be lighting our chalice today. Luke is in 3rd grade, and he wants you to know he can read up to a 4th grade level. He's been watching the shows Loud House and Stranger Things.
Good stuff.
Let us speak together the covenant of our church. Love
is the spirit of this church, and reason is its guide.
To dwell together in peace, to seek truth and freedom, and to serve human need. This is our covenant. Now let's sing together our chalice response song.
Today, may light of reason guide our way. May truth be truth and joy become a flame that burns in everyone. We gather in worship together. We begin with the prayers of the people, the naming of joy and sorrow, the holding in heart of those that we love. We hold in our hearts all those recovering from illness and experiencing maladies of body or soul. May her mercy and healing attend them. I invite you now to name into this space those who you are holding in your hearts, either aloud or in silence. Would you turn now and greet your neighbor in fellowship? Spirit of the circle that is love. As we twirl in this dance that is life, we give thanks for reminding us each day of our task of ministering to each other with a searching glance, a safe touch, a generous smile, a thoughtful word. Thank you for reminding us that we are always building our beloved community. Thank you for reminding us that through our covenant with you, we covenant with each other and are made whole.
Oh, no. Do I have to use that?
No.
Okay, I'm Lindsay, your Director of Religious Education, and my pronouns are she and her. Working with our children and youth today are Liz in the nursery, Katie and Lisa with the 1st through 3rd grade group, myself with the 4th through 6th grade group, and Reverend Joyce with the youth group. The grades 7 through 9, our whole live session will take place in the Commons after service today. As a reminder, the sound of children is always welcome here, but please do silence your electronic devices. Our story this morning is Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss. On the faraway island of Salamasand, Yertle the Turtle was king of the pond. A nice little pond. It was clean, it was neat, the water was warm, there was plenty to eat. The turtles had everything turtles might need, and they were all happy, quite happy indeed. They were until Yertle, the king of them all, decided the kingdom he ruled was too small. I'm ruler, said Yertle, of all that I see, but I don't see enough, that's the trouble with me. With the stone for a throne, I look down on my pond, but I cannot look down on the places beyond. This throne that I sit on is too low down. It ought to be higher, he said with a frown. If I could sit high, how much greater I'd be. What a king. I'd be ruler of all that I could see. So Yertle the Turtle King lifted his hand, and Yertle the Turtle King gave a command. He ordered 9 turtles to swim to his stone, and using these turtles, he built a new throne. He made each turtle stand on another one's back, and he piled them all up in a 9 turtle stack. And then Yertle climbed up. He sat down on the pile. What a wonderful view. He could see almost a mile. All mine, Yertle cried. Oh, the things I now rule. I'm king of a cow, and I'm king of a mule. I'm king of a house, and what's more beyond that, I'm king of a blueberry bush and a cat. I'm Yertle the Turtle, oh marvelous me, for I am the ruler of all that I see. And all through that morning he sat there up high, saying over and over, a great king am I, until long about noon, then he heard a faint sigh. What's that? Snapped the king, and he looked down the stack, and he saw at the bottom a turtle named Mac, just a part of his throne, and this plain little turtle looked up and he said, beg your pardon, King Yertle. I've pains in my back and my shoulders and knees. How long must we stand here, your majesty, please? Silence, the king of the turtles barked back. I'm king, and you're only a turtle named Mac. You stay in your place while I sit here and rule. I'm king of a cow, and I'm king of a mule. I'm king of a house, and a bush, and a cat. And that isn't all. I'll do better than that. My throne shall be higher, his royal voice thundered. So pile up more turtles. I want about 200. Turtles, more turtles, he bellowed and brayed, and the turtles way down in the pond were afraid. They trembled, they shook, but they came, they obeyed. From all over the pond they came swimming by dozens, whole families of turtles with uncles and cousins, and all of them stepped on the head of poor Mac, one after One after another, they climbed up the stack. Then Yertle the turtle was perched up so high he could see 40 miles from his throne in the sky. "Hooray!" shouted Yertle. "I'm king of the trees. I'm king of the birds, and I'm king of the bees, and I'm king of the butterflies, king of the air. Ah, me, what a throne, what a wonderful chair. I'm Yertle the turtle, oh marvelous me, for I am the ruler of all that I see." And then again, from below, in the great heavy stack, came a groan from that plain little turtle named Mac. "Your Majesty, please, I don't like to complain, but down here below we are feeling great pain. I know up on top you are seeing great sights, but down at the bottom we too should have rights. We turtles can't stand it, our shells will all crack. Besides, we need food. We are starving," groaned Mac. "You hush up your mouth," howled the mighty King Yertle. "You've no right to talk to the world's highest turtle. I rule from the clouds, over land, over sea. There's nothing, no, nothing that's higher than me." But while he was shouting, he saw with surprise that the moon of the evening was starting to rise up over his head in the darkening skies. "What's that?" snorted Yertle. "Say, what is that thing? What dares to be higher than Yertle the king? I shall not allow it. I'll go higher still. I'll build my throne higher. I can and I will. I'll call some more turtles. I'll stack them to heaven. I need about 5,607. But as Yertle the Turtle King lifted his hand and started to order and give the command, that plain little turtle below in the stack, that plain little turtle whose name was just Mac, decided he'd taken enough, and he had, and that plain little lad got a little bit mad, and that plain little Mac did a plain little thing. He burped, and his burp shook the throne of the king. And Yertle the turtle, the king of the trees, the king of the air, and the birds and the bees, the king of a house and a cow and a mule, well, that was the end of the Turtle King's rule. For Yertle, the king of all Salamasand, fell off his high throne and fell plunk in the pond. And today, the great Yertle, that marvelous he, is king of the mud. That is all he can see. And the turtles, of course, all the turtles are free, as turtles and maybe all creatures should be. And if you'll join us in singing the first verse of this little light of mine, we'll head downstairs.
Light of mine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I'm hearing that story in a brand new way. I see where this is going, maybe. Well, I hope that, welcome again. I hope that you're all subscribed to Kairos, our weekly newsletter. Be sure to read it for announcements about upcoming events and activities. This week I want to highlight eco-justice meetings happening right after the service. If you want to help with the, did you see in the UU World, or it was on the website, our food pantry got highlighted nationally as a model for outreach. I mean, it's one thing to just, to give food away. It's another to put an air-conditioned, climate-controlled, unmonitored. Just take what you need, folks. It's a model. If you want to help out with that at the food table in Deal Hall, there'll be ways you can help. And I was going to say something about auction, but we got a special. Yes, we're going to have a special announcement for the auction because I guess there's a deadline coming up. Yes.
Hello, I'm Alexis. My pronouns are she, her. Today is the last day to submit items for the auction. The auction is Saturday, November 15th. The doors open at 4:30. Dinner and silent bidding is from 4:30 to 6, and the live auction will start at 6:15. So, if you are an RSO subscriber and you happen to have a concert that night, you can do both. So please do both, because I know a lot of you go to the RSO. So it is a potluck, so please bring a dish to share. We also still need volunteers, especially for cleanup, and we still need an auctioneer. So if you like to talk fast and do what they do, please volunteer. Come find Rebecca or I after the service to volunteer, or if you need help donating an item. Thank you to those who have already donated. There is a catalog in Deal Hall if you'd like to get a preview of the items. And like I said, if you haven't donated yet, today is the last day, so get to it. Autumn is off this week, so bring physical items to drop off on Sunday, November 9th. And online bidding opens Friday, November 7th, so get excited. And if you have questions, again, Rebecca and I will be in Deal Hall after service. Well, she has eco-justice, it might just be me. She'll be there too.
I'd like to invite up our Faith in Action representative for our monthly message.
Yeah, I thought it was just about turtles, too. My name is John McGinty, and my pronouns are he and him, although a lot of times it's just hey you. I'm a member of the Eco-Justice team. We're the ones that brought you the neighborhood free pantry that's downhill on the parking lot. Which brings me to my first announcement. In this time of growing food insecurity, we're looking for a few volunteers to help keep the pantry well-stocked and clean and in good order. If you volunteer, you'll be periodically asked to move donated stuff from the donations table in Deal Hall to the pantry outside, as well as to help keep it clean and organized. So if you're interested in helping our neighbors, you can see Dawn Nimmo. Is Dawn here? She's in the Deal Hall. She's at the table after the service. And the rest of you can just keep the donations coming. We, the Eco-Justice team, are also presenting the next, that's a drum roll, Wonderful Wednesday. It's an event on November 19th, that's a Wednesday, at 5:30 in the evening, 2 weeks from this coming Wednesday. It's an all-ages event. It's centered around, oddly enough, gratitude. We will hear from the wisdom of indigenous peoples. We will share music and snacks, read a story for all ages, and decorate our own gratitude journal. Everybody is welcome. And as you heard, since this is the first Sunday of the month, our Eco-Justice team will meet today in the library after the service, all except for Dawn, who will be busy signing you all up in the pantry for volunteers. So grab some coffee and snacks and join us in the library. We now take up an offering to support the work of justice and mercy in the world. 80% of the undesignated collection will go to support the UUANA, Unitarian Universalist Advocacy Network of Illinois, about which I'm sure you will hear more from Scott this morning. They're the folks, as we heard, who empower UUs throughout the state to work for effective action in solidarity with those folks most impacted by injustice. So we thank you in advance for your generosity, and the offering will now be given and most gratefully received.
Our reading this morning is from On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. A patriot wants the nation to live up to its ideals, which means asking us to be our best selves. A patriot must be concerned with the real world, which is the only place where one's country can be loved and sustained. A patriot has universal values, standards by which one judges one's nation, always wishing it well and wishing that it could be better. Democracy failed in Europe in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and it is failing in many parts of the world today. It is that history and experience that reveals to us the dark range of our possible futures. A nationalist will say that it can't happen here, which is the first step toward disaster. A patriot says that it could happen here, but that we will stop it.
Worship associates are asked to talk about something in their lives that relates to the sermon topic of the week. When I heard that this week's topic was nurturing gratitude, I thought, oh no. This has been a very stressful week, and I am not feeling much gratitude. As I worked at the food pantry and had to tell people we ran out of milk, eggs, and bread, I worried about what will happen next week when SNAP benefits cease. Daylight saving time is ending. It means it'll be too dark for me to sit on the deck in the evening admiring the fall colors and watching the squirrels scamper about. Our refrigerator died, and we are waiting patiently for a new one to be delivered. And I had to make the difficult decision to put my beloved cat down. Whenever I need to think about a problem, I go swim. As I swim laps, I let my mind wander and process whatever is bothering it. During my swim, it came to me. This is my opportunity to reframe my thinking and start focusing on the positive. I am able-bodied enough and have the time to work at the pantry. I am fortunate to have a stable housing situation with a nice deck and eyes to see nature in all its beauty. I have the money to buy a new refrigerator, and I have food to put in it. I've had my cat for 20 years, much longer than most cats live, and I am able to help her end her suffering. I have family and friends around me to support me and help me through these difficult times. Sometimes we all need a push to get out of our self-pity and look for the positive in our lives. Being asked to be the worship associate today was the push that I needed, and I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Thank you, Linda. Let's rise in body or in spirit for our second hymn, 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People. Let us enter into a spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of life, what is this thing we give when we give thanks? To whom is it given and how? On good days, we know how to hold gratitude in our hearts. On challenging days, and there are so many these days, we strive to feel gratitude's touch of comfort. How do we give thanks in challenging times? These are our questions. Where is gratitude in the midst of suffering? How do we bridge the space between emptiness and solid ground? We know the answer isn't only to give thanks once a year on holiday seasons. Rather, we know that gratitude is an ongoing act of praise for a world that does not always make sense, for life that contains suffering, for ways that are not always clear. Gratitude is an ongoing act in the presence of all that is our lives. And when we string together such moments as these, may they be enough, and enough, and enough to share. Amen. Let us share a few moments of silence together. And again, amen.
It's good to be with you this morning. Again, I'm Reverend Scott Aaseng, director of our statewide UU Justice Network, which I like to call UU and I because it's about you, and I working together for justice. And I have to confess that I'm not preaching on gratitude today. I didn't get the memo, and I've got a whole other sermon, and I don't think you want to hear me try to preach on the fly. But I am extremely grateful to be here today, again with you one last time before I retire in a couple months. I've been here a few times over the years, and it's always so wonderful to be back in this warm, loving community. I firmly believe that we need strong, thriving communities committed to our values of love and justice and all the rest more than ever in these times. So I'm extremely grateful that you continue to thrive here in Rockford. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for Natasha Walker to be succeeding me at the first of the year. She'll be coming to visit you and all the other congregations in the state sometime in the next year, so you can look forward to that. It may be hard to remember now, but we had a particularly long, cool, and windy spring this year, at least where I live in Chicago. I became pretty aware of this since I'd like to get out and bike around my neighborhood first thing every morning. My usual route takes me first to the south and then straight back to the north to get back home. And I vividly remember that more often than not in the spring, when I would turn around to the north, a blast of biting cold wind would hit me in the face pretty much every morning, day after day, week after week, month after month. And I would have to dig deep to make my way back home, often returning with cold ears and tears in my eyes, wondering when or if this winter was ever going to end. The news has felt a bit like that this year, hasn't it? A daily barrage of cruel, harsh blasts in our faces pretty much every morning that leave us struggling to keep going, feeling lots of feelings, wondering when, if ever, this is all going to end. Now, I have to admit, I got a bit obsessed with those winds on my bike rides because this is not how I remembered previous springs, and it was really getting to me. So I started researching online, how often do the winds usually blow from the north in Chicago? And I learned from WGN Weatherman's Tom Skilling, no less, that historically speaking, winds in Chicago blow from the northeast, where it's typically colder, about 40% of the time, which is way more than I ever realized or even imagined. I knew we had chilly, windy days now and then, but I never realized how persistent those cold, harsh winds really were until this year, when they became so prevalent I couldn't ignore or avoid them. And of course, I got to wondering if there hasn't been a persistent underlying coldness of spirit in our country, perhaps not always dominant, but far greater than I ever realized or wanted to admit. One that has now come to the fore in ways I have could never have imagined, and we can now no longer ignore or avoid. As a middle-class white person, the historical narrative that I grew up with was, we've been a mostly good country, haven't we? With sporadic failings that we've overcome progressively from time to time. And of course, the last decade has been a rude awakening for me and for many of us, and made us face the persistence of our white supremacist and even authoritarian tendencies that are not so new and not so sporadic. I've come to realize, in ways that I somehow never had before, that our dominant white culture has a long history of controlling and treating as less than human so many people, whether those who were living here before Europeans came, or those who immigrated here after my people moved in, or those who were brought here in chains, or those who are still stuck in the chains of poverty and oppression and literal prison cages, or those who love differently or express their identities differently, or who are just different, whatever that might mean. Contrary to what I was taught growing up, we've always been a pretty mixed bag as a country, with some wonderful ideals of liberty and justice, tolerance and pluralism, community and equality, and a horrendous history of doing just the opposite at times. Most revealing has been the realization that most every move forward has faced fierce and often violent backlash from those whose power is threatened. So the emergence of a regime committed to the exact opposite of our professed ideals of liberty and justice for all is really not all that new. It's not that we're wrong in feeling that what we're experiencing is somehow different this time around. But at the same time, we need not freak ourselves out by thinking that nothing like this has ever happened before, or that what's happening is entirely unique in our history, much less the history of the world. We have had regimes in this country that have acted in direct violation of our Constitution. We've had presidents who have ignored the Supreme Court. We've had Supreme Courts that denied the basic humanhood of beings, of persons. And we've had police and military forces that have terrorized and traumatized people. We have long had members of Congress who have explicitly argued that this country is only for white Christian people. These ugly tendencies have been a persistent underlying part of who we are, perhaps 40%, perhaps more at times, perhaps less at others. But this coldness of spirit has always been a significant part of who we are as a nation and undoubtedly as human beings. That's not all we are, of course. There's a persistent spirit of warmth and compassion and goodness among us as well, and I have great faith in that spirit which lives in each of us, I believe. But there's also that other part of us that never quite goes away and periodically comes to the forefront and overwhelms our better natures, our better angels, sometimes even our regular angels, and makes us less than we could be. We seem to be in such a period now, and it's hard to keep facing it day after day, is it not? Wondering how long it's going to continue, how much worse it's going to get, but it really doesn't help to obsess over it. Back in April, after a few months of obsessively reading about what was happening, checking the news several times each day to learn about the latest fresh horrors, I finally realized I was becoming numbed and depressed. I couldn't process it all and remain emotionally connected to myself, much less anyone else. The dissonance was just too great. And so I stopped. I stopped my daily news habit and went cold turkey. I've cut way back since then. I finally realized I have the picture of what's happening. I don't need to keep obsessing over the details. I do keep plenty informed, but I don't need to keep opening myself up to that kind of psychic and spiritual damage over and over again every time I pick up my phone. I've stopped listening to what's on the air, and I've started coming back to center, back to ground, in many ways, literally. Like many of you, I've been attending rallies in the streets, rallies that probably don't change anything politically in the halls of power, but that do change things viscerally in the hearts of many of us on the ground, shifting the narrative, the vibe from one of resignation and defeat to one of possibility and hope. I also started attending some smaller gatherings, like my local Indivisible chapter, for the first time. I participated in a wonderful gathering of UU congregations back in the spring. One person there shared at the end of our time together that her heart had often been feeling too hot lately with anger sometimes, and so cold lately with depression at other times. But their gathering together had warmed her heart with love, which is exactly what she needed, and exactly what our congregations offer. So I found ways to get off of my screens more, and into proximity and connection with other people more. Taken time to revisit places that are sacred to me, places of remembrance and grief, places of nature and beauty, places of literal ground and sky and air and living beings. I've started reconnecting with music and ritual and community and paying more attention to my body, taking time to rest and take naps, taking care of myself physically. Participating in sound baths. They're wonderful experiences of laying on the ground and just hearing the singing bells for an hour at a time. It's incredible. Above all, I've taken time to slow down. As Bayo Akomolefe says, the times are urgent. Let us slow down so that we don't freak out, numb out, check out, burn out. And I've started coming back to the moment I'm in, that we are in, more grounded and centered, more renewed and refreshed, more ready to deal with what's happening from a place of emotional and spiritual presence and strength, rather than a place of numbness, depression, and despair. I listen to a meditation app on my phones most mornings, and recently I heard this quote from Ian Thomas. And every day, the world will drag you by the hand yelling, this is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this. And each day, it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, this is important. We need to take care of ourselves, friends, in whatever ways that work for you, because this struggle is not going away anytime soon. And it's a struggle that's going to require something from each of us, perhaps more than we're really comfortable with, but certainly something, in whatever ways we are each able to participate. And there are many ways to participate. There's some things we're able to do at the state level, particularly here in Illinois, to counteract what's happening at the federal level. And our organization, UUNI, will continue to provide these opportunities to advance our values of worth and dignity, of justice and equity, interdependence and compassion through state legislation in solidarity with our partners. Just this last week, we helped the legislature to pass a legislation that prohibits ICE from going into courtrooms and hospitals and schools and literally grabbing people and deporting them. That is no longer legal in Illinois. And just as important, we have passed significant historic legislation to keep advancing sustainable energy and sustainable transit at levels we've never done before. And we've taken action to end permanent punishments for people who have been incarcerated through the Clean Slate Bill. If you're up for helping with these efforts in the future, please talk to me after the service. I'd be happy to plug you in. And there's a sign-up sheet out in the narthex. There are also things we can do in terms of voter engagement, because elections are a big part of the reason why we got into this mess, and they're ultimately one way we're going to get out of it. So UUNI will continue to provide ways to promote values-based participation in the democratic process. And it is not too soon to start gearing up for next year's midterm elections. I hate to say it. Again, if you're interested, I'd be happy to talk with you after the service. And yet, at some point, even these efforts aren't going to be enough if things keep going the way they're going. We are clearly in the middle of an authoritarian power grab by a regime that's working to break our system of checks and balances and impose their vision of rule by the white and the wealthy, unimpeded by notions of democratic governance by we, the people. What's happening is not merely a matter of political differences that could be debated one way or another. What's happening is contrary to both the founding principles of this country and our core values as UUs. At some point, legislative advocacy and even the electoral process are not going to be sufficient to deal with the corruption of our democratic system if things keep going the way they are going. What's needed now is a campaign of nonviolent resistance to stop the consolidation of power now taking place. We need to build a broad-based movement, mass movement, not of partisan resistance, but of civil non-cooperation with the destruction of our democracy. This movement is already forming and has been forming for some time. One expression of it is the 1 Million Rising campaign that has trained over 250,000 people on the principles and practices of strategic non-cooperation, the largest such effort in human history. The basic idea, rooted in the history of nonviolent movements around the world, is that authoritarian regimes can be stopped by everyday people withholding their support from the various societal pillars that hold up any regime, much like the turtles in the story. One of the societal pillars is education. Teachers and institutions deciding not to go along with what they're being told to do, and alumni pushing for and supporting that non-cooperation. There's the example of a teacher in Idaho who was told to take down a sign in her classroom, similar to a sign I saw coming into Rockford today, with that radical left-wing message, "Everyone is welcome here." She refused to take down that sign, and the TV news heard about it and interviewed her, and pretty soon the story started going viral. A local printer printed up 20,000 t-shirts saying, everyone is welcome here. Students started chalking on sidewalks, "Everyone is welcome here." The community rose up together to say more powerfully than ever before, "Everyone is welcome here," even here in this town in Idaho. Another of these societal pillars is the business community. And thousands of people like you and me and people at Countryside UU in Palatine I've gotten more than 6,000 coffee shops and other stores to put up signs in their windows that say, ICE does not have permission to enter this space. This is creating a culture that says to immigrants and customers and other businesses alike that we do not support attempts to deport our workers and our neighbors. Just recently in Chicago, a grassroots campaign successfully convinced a local landlord to stop letting ICE use their loading dock to take immigrants away. Now there are efforts to get hotels to stop renting rooms to ICE agents around the suburbs of Chicago, not so far from here if you'd like to get involved. In neighborhoods around the state and across the country, people are coming together and pushing back against ICE on our streets. I was part of one such spontaneous uprising in Chicago, downtown, just recently. There are rapid response trainings every week. Over 10,000 people across the state have been trained in rapid response. If you'd like to be part of one of these efforts, I could get you plugged in. Now, of course, the societal pillar that we are part of as you use is the faith community. And last month, I got to be part of an amazing display of the faith community's power. A coalition of dozens of Catholic and other faith communities organized a religious procession to the ICE detention center in Broadview outside Chicago. Hundreds and hundreds of these smiling, gentle, loving church folk gathered in a church in Maywood and got to hear both the mayor of Broadview and U.S. Senator Dick Durbin declare that we are in a historic moment of resistance to injustice. And then we picked up signs, not with angry slogans, but with scripture verses. God has cast down the mighty from their thrones, very much like Yertle the turtle, right? Pictures of the Holy Family, correctly identified as refugees. And we processed down a mile down the streets of Broadview, from Maywood to Broadview, not with, again, angry shouts, but with hymns and rosaries over the loudspeaker. That was new for me. And silence. It's incredibly powerful to march in silence with a community of people of common purpose. At the detention center, the priests asked to give permission to communion. They asked permission to give communion to those who were locked up inside. The request was denied. And spontaneously, this crowd of gentle, loving, smiling churchgoers erupted in shouts of shame, shame, shame. What's happening is that everywhere, different segments of society are coming together and publicly declaring, like Yertle the turtle, no more. We do not consent. Last month, millions of us gathered for one of the largest mobilizations in U.S. history. Just a couple of Fridays ago, there was a UU flower communion outside the detention center in Broadview. This coming Friday, and every first Friday of the month, there will be a major interfaith mobilization in the Chicago area. On Sunday, November 16th, there will be a targeted campaign to get AT&T to end its multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract with ICE. AT&T is providing communication services for the agents who are literally disappearing people from our streets. The goal of this campaign is to get AT&T to stop its contract with ICE, but the larger strategy is to slow the authoritarian consolidation of power before next year's midterm elections by making it more expensive for corporations, one of those pillars holding up society, making it more expensive for them to comply with the regime than to stop cooperating with it. The specific tactic is to show up at your local AT&T store, and Teresa Wilmot has agreed to lead the contingent here in Rockford. And across the state, actually UUs are leading this action in many communities across the state, while other organizations are doing this in Chicago. Each group is committing to turn out at least 20 people, have 3 leaders, and show up in solidarity with those who are being abused by our government. And so please, I'd love to have you come talk to Teresa and myself and Reverend Brett after the service. We're happy to answer any questions about that campaign. There's a wonderful reasoning from Clarissa Estes that continues to be relevant in these times. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like pure gold. To be fierce and to show mercy toward others, both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. I don't know what showing your soul might look like in this time, but I encourage you to consider what you want to be able to tell your children and your grandchildren and generations to come about what you did during this time. I think about that a lot. But this time is going to end. It may not be quick. I am quite sure it won't be easy. But I'm always inspired by these words from Gandhi almost 100 years ago. Remember that all through history there have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they seem invincible. But in the end, they always fall. Always. We may not have been exactly where we are in this country before, but we have beaten back waves of authoritarianism before, and we are going to do so again, I am firmly convinced. Our country has a wealth of what James Luther Adams called civic associations, groups of everyday people coming together for the common good. Our UU congregations are just such civic associations, communities that offer a unique combination of connection and meaning, both a sense of belonging in relationships and a clear set of values to live by. UUNI is about harnessing our relationships and our values, harnessing the power of love to act as people of both fierceness and mercy in these times. These are undoubtedly one of those times that try our souls, but I would argue that we were made for these times. Some of us may have been lulled into the myth that we're a country of mild springs and endless summers, as if there was a time when those cold winds really didn't blow that often or weren't such a big deal. Some of us may have been tempted to think that if we can only win one more time or go back to the way it used to be, everything will be fine. The last decade has shattered that illusion for many of us and has pointed out that this country has never lived up to our democratic ideals that we aspire to, reminding us that we're going to have to keep on acting, not just harder, but smarter, to build a more just society. The good news is that we have made considerable progress over time. The bad news that's become all too obvious is that progress doesn't continue automatically all by itself. Perhaps the saving news is that we don't have to start from scratch. There are others who've been at this for a very long time, and we don't have to go it alone. We dare not go it alone, for progress has never come through individual actions, but by people coming together and acting together. And we are not alone. We have each other, and there's a vast networks of groups and organizations and communities joining together to keep building the world we dream of. So let's not freak out as if nothing like this has ever happened before. It has, and we have overcome it time and time again, and I'm committed that we will do the same this time. Let us not numb out or burn out. Let's take care of ourselves and each other and find ways to nurture love and life and joy amidst all the fear and chaos and confusion. Let's not check out or tune out. Now is the time to choose courage over comfort. And there is a place for each of us to show up and show our souls as we are able in this struggle. Above all, let us not give up on ourselves or on each other, for we always have been, and I believe we always will be, enough. Again, I'm so grateful to be with you today, and thank you for being here. Our closing hymn is Building a New Way. Please rise as you are able to in body or spirit. Our benediction is a rather long responsive reading. If you'd like to sit down, you feel free. And we have this on the screen, I hope. Or is it? If not, I can read it. It's not in the hymnal. Not in the hymnal. It's not in the hymnal, no. And if there's no insert, I guess I'll just do it. Brett, you want to come join me?
Yes.
We're professionals. We can handle this. My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times.
Ours is a time of almost daily astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest degradations of what matters most to civilized, visionary people.
Yeah, you're right there. Yet I urge you, gentle you, please not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times, because the fact is, we were made for these times.
Yes, for years we have been learning, practicing, been in training for, and just waiting to meet on this exact plane of existence, engagement.
Regarding awakened souls, there have never been more able vessels in the water than there are right now across the world.
And they are fully provisioned and able to signal one another as never before in the history of humankind.
Look out over the prow. There are millions of boats of righteous souls on the waters with you. Even though your veneers may shiver from every wave in the stormy royal, I assure you that the long timbers composing your prow and rudder come from a greater forest.
That long-grained lumber is known to withstand storms, to hold together, to hold its own, and to advance regardless.
In any challenging time, there is a tendency to veer toward fainting over how much is wrong or unmended in the world.
Do not focus on that.
There's a tendency, too, to fall into being weakened by dwelling on what is outside your reach, by what cannot yet be.
Do not focus there.
Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world at once, but of stretching out to mend the part of the world that is within our reach.
We are needed. That is all we can know.
What is needed for dramatic change is an accumulation of acts, adding to, adding more, continuing.
It is not given to us to know which acts or by whom will cause the critical mass to tip toward an enduring good.
One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul.
Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times.
Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it.
If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things that you can do.
To display the lantern of soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy toward others.
Both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity.
When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe, there can be no doubt.
But that is not what great ships are built for. And now, while we extinguish our chalice flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment which we carry until we are together again, I invite you to join hands for our closing blessing. If touch is uncomfortable or private for you, please just keep your hands where they are, trusting that others will respect your choice. Now let us sing our closing blessing.